important aspect of the sales process is the negotiation. That's where you're really going to get the deal done, whether it is you're representing a buyer or representing a seller or even the lease and all that. Like the most important aspect in the real estate, any sales process, negotiation is the most important step in that. That's where the final thing, when you actually finish that, that's where the deal will get done. And on the negotiation process, and we will go through some of those techniques, and it's not like really fully focused on the real estate side, but it is actually focused on the sales side. When you do the negotiation, a few things we will talk about that. When you're representing somebody, how do you manage them? How do you help those parties between the buyer and the seller, or for anybody where you are representing? How do you actually maneuver the conversation? So that's what we will discuss today.
Perfect. Yeah, negotiation, it goes a long way. If you master it, then you can handle anything in life. Negotiation is the way I look at it is an art of speaking, right? Understanding what the other individual is saying. Let's say a client in this case. Understanding their body tone, understanding their body language, and the tone of voice, and etc., and using that to your advantage, and trying to figure out exactly what they mean. And negotiation is a major part of that. Why? Because you take all of that into consideration, and there's certain things you would tell them to convince them to do something, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to a client that is still, they have a few other realtors in the family, and they still want to decide if you are the right one. How you would handle those type of situations, and how you would overall negotiate to a point where you state that you are the most beneficial person for that individual. Exactly. Again, selling yourself, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. We have around 65 people on the call now. 9:37. I'm sure we can start.
Sure. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Once again, we will, and am I going to share my screen?
Okay. Yeah, give me a second. I can give you access to that.
All right. So before we, go into talk about the negotiation side, I just wanted to actually refresh everybody's memory what we have spoken so far. So of course, again, let's make it a little more interactive and interesting, guys. Like, please unmute yourself and, give some suggestion, and we can actually, make it a little more interesting. And for others are also actually those who have experienced sales folks in this call, like you can also share some best practices. So we spoke about data, creating the database. And again, I'm asking, hope you folks, some of you must have already started. If not, again, it's never too late. Start the database, set up your database, please. We spoke about that, the importance of database, and the more organized you are, you're going to be more productive. So if you haven't done the database, let's start that. Like it's in a very simple format, like create something in an Excel. Just basically, you creating the calling people and the calling process. You think about that 3S, we spoke about it, right? The schedule, the system, and the strategy. So the system is what kind of system you have it for your database. So that's one. And the second thing is we spoke about the prospecting, the importance of prospecting, right? I mean, that's your backbone of your business. We can't stress the importance of prospecting in this real estate business. Without that, you're going to be actually setting up yourself for failure. So it is important to keep doing the prospecting, even if this is COVID period and all that. But like excuses is we don't want to do actually come on your way. So this is a perfect time to set up your database and connecting with the people over the phone. And it's actually a great opportunity for you to connect and show that the concern. Just call them up if you haven't spoken with somebody for the last year, 2 year, or whenever anybody has done any deal and you haven't had any connection with those people for the last 3-4 years. This is a perfect time to pick up the phone, and you can actually start the conversation about bring COVID in between, like how your family is doing. We thought about how it's a great thing to reconnect those people. So utilize those opportunity, right? And then we were actually discussing about the listing presentation last week. And the listing presentation, again, I'm hoping some of you have taken some effort to create that listing presentation. And it is, if you don't have it, it's a simple thing. You probably will think that these are all, I know how I am doing it. But again, the more organized you are, it's going to be more professional. You will position your client when you're more organized, and it's really going to help you to be more prepared and all that. So it's a listing presentations. If you don't have any listing presentations, please take time to create those listing presentation. And we have mentioned what are the things a listing presentation should have, right? So it is very important to take some time to revamp those things. This is actually one of the script we have. I think I have sent that from last week. If I haven't, I'll do that in any way after this call. So I'll send it to you guys. So practice the script. So this is, again, this is part of the listing presentation. So once you do the listing presentation, set up those listing presentations, whether it is in PowerPoint or Word document, or if in a flash drive, if you're creating this, you can actually keep that ready. As I mentioned last time, dig the well before you're thirsty, right? I mean, so if you don't want to wait for the last minute to get those listing presentation, even if you don't have any, you may be thinking that I don't have any clients, then why do I bother? So think about it. If tomorrow some client is saying that, okay, come and talk to, I wanted to list with you, but and you're going to run around at the last minute to create the listing presentation and all that, right? So this is, and after getting the listing presentation, listing done, listing signed, how do you actually reach out to those people in your database? So this is a script. I will send this over to you all. So you can actually, practice this one when you're actually calling up and introducing about your listing. How do you actually go that? And you can actually, this is when you calling, and when you get calls in the app, when you put it in your MLS and the Facebook and all that, you can actually, you will be getting calls. So how do you actually respond that? So I have put some, the script there. So please take some time to just practice the script, and that will really going to help you to promote your product. So now we'll talk about the negotiation. This is, as I mentioned, the important aspect of a sales process. When you really look at that negotiation, it's actually, we all do that on a daily basis. The problem with the negotiation, if we don't want to take that as a whole process, like, it's not about getting scared away. When you really look at that, we do negotiation on a daily basis. When you talk to your spouse, when you talk to your kids, when you go and actually, it's a negotiations. We all are doing it on a daily basis. So when you're in the sales process, when it comes there, the problem is preparation is the key. When you go for a negotiation, the preparation is actually how much homework you're doing it. If you're going to actually come out from a negotiation, the success is rated based on that, how much time you took to do that homework, and how did you actually, what kind of effort you have taken it. The problem is when you go for a negotiations without preparing, and you immediately, the person who's actually have more knowledge on the other side will always win. So that's why when you really think about that, if you go to a car mechanic or a car sales guys, they always have an upper hand in the conversation. The simple reason is, unless if you're not a mechanic, whatever they actually open the hood and explaining to you, it's not making any sense to you, right? So that is why. So what I'm trying to tell you is, when you go for a negotiation, the person who has got the better knowledge about that, the process, will always win. Like, that's the way. Like, when you don't have any, actually not much of knowledge about that, then the other person, you will have an upper hand on the other person, right? So the key is preparation. You do your homework about what you're going to talk about it and how you're going to position that. So it is very important to do that the preparations before you go for a negotiation, before whether it is you are representing a buyer side or a seller side, when even with your own client, or between those two other sales guys and the cooperating sales guys, when you're actually doing that, how much preparations you're actually doing it before you dial the phone. do those numbers. We'll talk about some of the tips and what the psychology behind the negotiation, the listening skill, and the type of questions and all that. We will go through some of those one. But in nutshell, how much preparations you are doing it, and how much you know about what you're talking about it. So that's the key in that, right? And how do you actually helping those people involved in this negotiation process, right? Anybody wants to say anything about your experience or some things we can actually, before we get into that, or either on the chat box, something? Any comments?
Yes, Bhubalan here.
Yes.
So I'm new to business. I have into this business for 2-3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
I had buyers for Kanjo, and I had buyers for the test, but always I failed in getting the deals. Even one buyer got frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing happened because I was always losing the deal for 5,000, 3,000, 7,000.
Okay. So when you do so you're saying that the negotiation, when you reach in the negotiation process, that's where you're losing the deal.
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm not getting that. What is the negotiation? Because the other side, the listing agent, they're saying just improve the offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I explained the offer which I brought is very strong, and it's for the market price, it's a very good price compared to the other properties. All I explained, and then finally somehow I couldn't make the deal. That's happening all the time in the last 2 months.
Yeah. So we'll talk about some of those process. Then see few things, and we will touch on those one. So when you go for a negotiation, what you have to really see that always think you have to go with options when you're going for a negotiation, right? I mean, it's not that only the price is there. So the options are, always make sure when you give something, take something back, right? So if you're giving a price break, think about other options, the closing date, or something like the chattels, or something which is you can think about something you are also taking it back, right? So if the price is the only one, what other things you can actually negotiate with them? If that is what, when you're actually going for that, you need to understand that the other person's hot button. If it is only on the pricing, if they're stuck on the pricings, then you need to actually try and ask about flexibility on the closing date, or flexibility about like something like if it is a chattel or some or fixtures, whatever. You need to always make option. And today's market is actually, it's crazy. It's okay. Don't that's something which is no techniques is working with anybody, I understand, but certain general rules we can use for negotiation is helping them in understanding that process. So in the decision making process, what we call is that you use this format, and it will really help you to go through that. It's called the PMI, which is plus minus implications, right? So what you have to do when you're actually doing that, and that's the homework you wanted to do, that you write down all the plus side. When you're actually negotiating with somebody, you're going to representing someone, you do this homework before you actually going to talk to them. Write down all the plus points about that topic. Like, if I actually get this $5,000 less, this is plus. So it is, price is cheaper, and your client is happy, all those plus side, you write it. And the implication. And the implication is, what are the things which you're actually going to lose that, right? Sorry, I mean, once you write the plus side, and the minus side is, you probably will be upsetting the other client, and it's not there, the deal is not going through. So those are the minus side. And then the implication. If you do that, what happens? The idea is your plus side should be more than the minus side, right? If the number of points should be, or it plus should be higher, when you point it 1, 2, 3, 4 pluses or 2 minuses. If minus is weighing more than the plus side, then it's not a good thing for you to actually, then it is for you to walk away from that deal.
Okay.
Did you guys, I mean, it's is it confusing? Like, did I explain that well? Are you guys okay to understand? So PMI process, right? Plus minus implication. Write down all the plus points with your client. Write down all the minus side. So basically what you're doing is you're helping your client to make that decision, even if it is a $5,000 and all that, that's where you walk them through that $5,000. Tell them, like, I mean, you like the house, you like the area, like, I mean, you actually agreed everything and your closing date is there, right? I mean, this is very hard to get it. There is no inspection, like you can ask for that, if price is actually only things, then I don't know, waive off the inspection or ask for an inspection. Whatever the scenarios you're actually going there, you need to know that since you are on that position, you know what it is to be done, right? So it is walk them, show them all the plus side and show them all the minus side and the implication. If the plus side is more than the minus side, anybody can actually work out that. So your job as a sales guy is to help them understand what are the plus side by walking away that. The second thing, what you need to do is whenever you're going for a negotiation for anything, even this is for anybody, you need to have a walkaway number, right? What is your offer price? What's your midpoint negotiation? And what is the walkaway number, right? So you need to have, if you're actually putting an offer, and prepare your customer. In that way, you're not actually dissatisfied and your customers are not actually unhappy. So it is important that it, okay. So Kanna, I think, I mean, it's saying that this has been number of people have actually, something came up. I think it's limiting, the Zoom is limiting the number of people, I guess. Anyway, so so you just the walkaway number is actually the key in any negotiation. So that is you as a salesperson, you need to actually prepare your client, whether it's a buyer or a seller. Okay, you know what? This is our offer price. This is our negotiation, and this is our walkaway number, right? And the walkaway number is you need to have that strategy before you go for that. Obviously, you won't actually put that the walkaway number in the beginning. That's where you actually do that. In that way, you are well prepared, and you are actually, you're also actually educated your buyer or a seller, and then in that way, there's not going to be any dissatisfaction. And I understand, Pupal, and this market is crazy, and you have to really see that, what that, if that the only the $5,000 and all that, it is actually something which you should be able to convince. If it is, 20, 10, anything $10,000, I think it's an easy thing to convince in today's market.
The problem is we can educate the client, our own client, but breaking through the negotiation with the other agent, right? That's what making me challenging. Like each time the case is different. So some agents are giving chances and they come for, they give some signal like they come that we can improve our offer. Some agents, they don't do anything. Simply they say they made up their decision, the client made up their decision, right? So each time it is different. So we don't know like how to approach that guy. Whether should I apply my past experience A or past experience B? So totally getting confused. So to maintain the professionalism, I just keep silent, put the number on the paper and submit it, and that is not working out. So we don't know. I don't know how to take it forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you're going back on your past experiences. Definitely, it's something, because again, it is situation to situation will be different. Like learning from that, what was that, and each situation will be different. But at the same time, if it's only, where do you get stuck with? Only with the pricing, and the pricing is something which is it's a really like $5,000, $10,000 and all that. That is something in today's market you should be able to, you can actually educate your customer, like whether you're representing buyer or a seller side. But and again, if there is it's an obnoxiously high, obviously then you need to actually walk away with that. And also you have to remember that every deal you're not going to get it, right? I mean, that's what it's in negotiation, only one party is going to win. It's not that both parties will not actually win, right? I mean, but what are you willing to preparations you have to do it. Anybody wants to add anything, like those who have actually on the street? Yeah.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Very good question you brought up, Bhupal, and I really appreciate you sharing your experience in this case. We have around 90 people on the call, and some of the individuals are new to the industry. Some of the individuals are very experienced. Delano has his hand up, so he's definitely going to share some of his experience and some know-hows. But what I can tell you is that, you know, you're not the only one that's going through this. A lot of agents are going through this. Supply is very low, demand is very high. So there's, you know, again, we're looking at situations where there's 15, 20, even 30 people putting an offer on one single property. Only one person is going to walk out of there as a winner, right? In this case, you know, we talked about educating clients, and again, I have to stress that out to everyone. You know, again, when we deal with, like, this is what Selvana always repeats to us, is that we got to educate our clients. Clients need to understand exactly how the market is right now. We need to let them know that, you know what, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, even $50,000 right now should not be a consideration when we're in a negotiation, or when we're in the middle of putting offers through and going back and forth, right? You know, nowadays, based on how the market is, you have to fight tooth and nail to get that deal done. So educating your clients, yes, it's beyond that. The clients need to understand that, you know, they have to go above and beyond, especially when there's a lot of other offers on the table. So, you know, there's some properties where, you know, when you put an offer, there's only 3 others. So the way you would react to that versus when there's 15 offers on the table, how your client would react to that has to be completely different. So based on your experience, I would say, put all of your experiences together. Every transaction is different. It's never going to be the exact same. Every listing agent is going to be different. Some people might be, you know, very lenient and giving you second chances, maybe even third chances. Some agents, they don't want to. So some listing agents, they don't want to go back and forth. They tell you, give me your best offer and we'll try to get it done. A few days ago, I put an offer on a property for a client of mine, and I told the client, listing agents, like, give me your best offer. I'm like, no, I don't want to give you my best offer. I already know that you only have 2 other offers, including mine, on the table. So 3 offers in total. I told them, I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you my best offer. This is my offer. I want your client to sign back telling me what they want. So, like, in that type of scenario, I already read the listing agent's mind. They really want to seal the deal and they want to get the highest price, but, you know, they don't have much ammunition to back them up. So in this case, you know, I took advantage of that and played it my way, which really, you know, we got the offer and we didn't even go much higher than the listed price. So it worked out. So every situation is different. You're not the only one that's going through this problem. When I do mortgages for clients, I see all the situations that they go through. One small tip that I'll give you on my end, especially when you're going to go into bidding wars and etc., is when you tell clients about offering 10, 15, 50, $100,000 more in certain scenarios, it's always good to also explain to them what that mortgage amount difference comes out to be as well, because at the end of the day, they're going to be, you know, they have to get the finance on that property. So what I do with certain clients is I tell them, hey, if we go into a bidding war, if you pay $10,000 more than what you really want to actually pay, let's just say the client's maximum is 1.1 million, I would tell them, okay, so if you're going to get a mortgage for a $1.1 million property, it's going to be this much. Also, if the purchase price is 1,050,000, the mortgage payment is going to be this much, right? So I tell them the increments of how much they're actually going to pay out of their pocket on a monthly basis for the mortgage, which is somewhat reassuring. Why? Because a $10,000, you know, if you're going $10,000 above, you're probably only looking at $20 to $30, maybe $40 difference a month on a mortgage payment, right? So, you know, right. Once the clients understand that, they come to a realization, oh, it's only $40 a month difference. Okay, maybe I can go $20,000 over what I really want to put. Or, you know, in a situation, I can put $50,000, I can go over by $50,000. And when they understand that financial aspect of how much they're actually paying out of their pocket for that extra, it kind of reassures them, and then at least you have a better opportunity to actually push your client a lot more. At the end of the day, guys, we want to close the deal. We want to get paid. That's literally it. We're here to make money. So, you know, every deal that we're working on, we gotta strive to the highest possible, and, you know, we gotta manipulate the agent's mind that we're dealing with. the listing agent or the buying, whoever the agent is, we got to manipulate them to make sure we win that offer. The clients need to understand exactly what situation you're in. So education goes a very long way. But then again, there's going to be situations where, we're going to go into 4 or 5 transactions, all of them is going to fall apart. We have a lot of experienced agents on this call, so definitely I'm sure some of them have some input here. Delano, you have your hand up. I'm sure you're going to share something very nice. Go ahead if you can.
Yep.
Hey, Kanna, thanks a lot. Yeah, Pupalan, one of the things is we're in the hyper market right now. Don't take anything very personally. It happens to everybody. Even you lose 3 offers, you get 1. So that's just the way it works. That's one thing. The other one is it's good not to go into the negotiation blind. And from my experience, your first contact with the other realtor shouldn't be at the negotiation. This is my experience. I mean, somebody else might have something else, and I'll totally subside to that. Your first point of contact is when you see the house, or you think your client's interested, or even before you see the house. Try and get on a wavelength of the other realtor. Try and figure out what his experience is and what his background is and how he's going to come at this transaction. A good point to start off would be, hey, we really like the house. We're thinking about making an offer. What are the comparables your seller is looking at this point that makes them think that they're going to get the best price for their house? Very simple. You're not being adversarial. And at the same time, you're getting to deal with the other realtor. He doesn't know your face, but he knows your name, and he knows you're interested. He knows you're doing your homework. He knows you're going to come to the offer presentation with a deal that you can close. At the end of the day, he wants to close the deal and go home too, right? I mean, he doesn't want to have another day on the market after the offer presentation. So try to get to know the other realtor, figure out what the other seller could kind of like. And once you have that, you may get the property, you may not, but at least you came in knowing and with your full deck of cards, and you moved your pieces up the board according to what you saw, and you're not coming in blind. Because when you come in blind, you really don't know. I mean, how do you know what the seller wants, right? I mean, that shouldn't be your first point of contact.
It is the indirect way of getting their expectation just by asking what the comparables you are referring, right?
Yeah, I would start with that.
Yeah.
I would start with that. Yeah, and they would say, yeah, last week something happened, last month something happened, yesterday something happened. And then, if you, obviously you'll be doing your homework before you have that conversation, but you can say, hey, you know what? Those guys had a countertop, they had a separate entrance, they had this. Is your client aware of that? Sometimes the other realtor might not know that fact.
Right.
And then you introduce that, and then you take it to the next level on the day of negotiations. You're not trying to overpower him, but you already built up a frequency where he's already listening to you, right? So it's a good place to start. I mean, that's my opinion. It might be different for other realtors, and I'll be the first to accept that. So
yeah. No, so actually, thank you, Delano, and thank you, Kanna. There are 2 things I just wanted to actually add on to that. And as Delano just explained, the key is how much preparation you're doing it before you going for the conversation, right? I mean, it's all about your homework. Again, you really learn about that, the house, the price, what it is, and how much is that, the history, how much it was sold for last time, how much when this person actually bought it, and where does it actually really, and then you, based on that, you educate your customer, right? I mean, it is, it's not worth going beyond this, and this should be our offer price, and this should be our walkaway price, and we can actually have that. And then you have that conversation, develop that conversation, as Delano just mentioned, and with the cooperating agent, you get the feel from there, where do they stand, and ask those questions, and then you start that conversation in that. Again, every deal is not going to go through, so there shouldn't be any emotional connections. It's not about you, the sale is, it's about the transaction and your client. And one of the things, what just as Kanna just mentioned, if it is $5,000, $10,000 and all that, you walk them through the numbers. It's called the cost of borrowing, right? I mean, we call what is the cost of borrowing to them, and help them understand. Don't look at the $20,000, $30,000 difference. When you really look at the cost of borrowing, and you can actually walk them through that. Say that, the cost of borrowing, if you take it, it's going to be 500,000, and if they're coming with 550, so that means it's $50,000 is the difference we are looking into it. Show them the cost of borrowing for that $50,000 difference. Your mortgage is going to be, monthly mortgage is going to be $1,200 based on 1.69 interest rate. If you add an 50,000 extra, your cost of borrowing is going to be around, monthly $75 difference. So ask them, just for the $75, do you want to let this go, right? You like the house, this is a hot market, and everything is actually going through that. So cost of borrowing, educating the cost of borrowing process is very important when it comes to nailing down the pricing point. But you should know that $50,000, $100,000 difference. In fact, in today's market, even with the interest rate and all that, the 50,000, 100,000, up to 100,000, the cost of borrowing is not going to be much of difference when you add up to the monthly mortgage. It's going to be maybe maximum $100, $50, $150, less than $200. So ask that question to them. Just for this $200, you wanted to let this go, so the key here is the preparation, and you're actually educating your customer, right? So what is negotiation? Negotiation is basically, it's managing a conflict and a disagreement, right? I mean, it's a two parties are actually having conversation, in whether you're actually talking with your buyer and the seller, or you're cooperating brokers or anything. Then basically the negotiation is that managing that conflict or a disagreement effectively, right? The first step is verify the authority of the negotiator. Is that the right person you're actually talking? Whether it is, from the buyer side, on the other side, if it is an agent who's actually listed agent. So you need to make sure, otherwise verify the authority of the negotiator. Is that the right person whom I'm talking? So that's the first steps you wanted to actually, nail that down. Second thing is, determine each side, their interest. What are they actually really looking out in? Are they really looking for to move out quickly, or are they actually trying to upgrade, or just trying to actually test the market? So determine the interest, and you need to know that what are their interests, their wants and needs, and all that, right? And generate options based on that. You identified who's the the authorities, who's the right person. Then you're going to actually do some homework in finding out what are their interests, what their needs and wants, and then based on that you generate that option, and and search for the options. Like how do you actually generate the options? You search for it, such as whether it's are they flexible for the closing date? Are they flexible to leave some of those things as the chattels or fixtures and all that? Are they only going to stuck on the price point? Those things, you need to actually search for this option. As I mentioned, use that technique about the PMI. You need to actually write down on the plus points, the minus points, and the implication to that, right? So that process in making decision will really help you in going through those step-by-step process. The idea is the plus point should be way more than the minus. Or if it is on the other way around, then you're actually then it's not actually a good negotiation for you. So as a it's an integral part of any sales job. Not just in the real estate, in the negotiating, and in any sales job is the negotiation is an integral part. The most important thing in negotiation is the ability to listen, and knowledge about the market, and the confidence. Again, we keep stressing the fact, like the knowledge, the preparations, how much homework you're doing before you going for that conversation, the negotiation conversation. So it's listening, and listening both sides. It is not interrupting, and having that patience to listen. It's very important to that.
So in couple of transactions, I myself disclosed that I'm new to business. So I was trying to display my honesty and fairness, like, okay, help me out. This is my first deal. I'm new to business. So tell me what number, the best number they're looking for, something like that. I tried, and that didn't work as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that is you're saying that, because you're already giving that impression to them. That is, you're see, you think about it, you're new. It doesn't make any difference whether you're new or an experienced person. It shouldn't actually an important thing there. You don't want to say that. And guys, those who are on the phone, like, correct me. I won't say that, because you're already giving your weak point there, right? So you're actually really, when you really think that, so that person is actually going to give an upper hand on you, because you already said that, I'm not actually prepared well. I don't have the experience to come and talk to you, right? You think about that when you go for an interview. You're saying that I don't think I can really do this job. I'm not actually qualified for that. Will they hire you? No, right? So you don't want it to, anyway, I mean, it's nothing wrong, and actually it's happened has happened, but I don't think it's that you wanted to really call that out. What you can do the preparation, go with, like, I mean, you fully educate your customer from whomever you're representing, then you have the conversation. And again, as I said, that you don't want it to bring your emotions and ego, and, like, if sometimes if it is not going to work out, it is fine. Like, so just move on to the other one. Anyone wants to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say something there. What you brought up about, stating that you're a new agent. Can you help me out? What's the sellers expecting as a price? I don't know. I feel like that goes both ways. I think that might even work out in certain scenarios. Again, you have to read. You got to read the mind and understand who the listing agent is as well. If they're very, very nice, sincere, sweet, and etc., then and then they're willing to accept preemptive offers, then yes, I would try to take advantage of that and play the nice guy, play the new agent. Again, what Gopa is saying is 100% correct. None of these situations always work the way you really want it to. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that we shouldn't 100% use it as well. I feel like in certain scenarios, you might get lucky if you play that card. I look at real estate, especially when it comes to putting offers. It's like you're playing poker. You need to have a proper face. You need to understand what the other person has in their hand, and you got to play your cards accordingly. And when it comes to poker, you want to be able to fool anyone you can. And in this case, if you find a gullible listing agent who is so nice and sincere, and if you tell them a sad story about, I tried 15 offers for my first client, I don't even want to be in real estate anymore, it's so difficult, you guys are doing such a great job, but you guys have so much listings, like, just tell me what your client wants, like, we'll put that offer here, and stuff like that. You really gotta, every situation differs. Like, I just made that story up right now, but in the real world, it may work. Of course, that's not the tactic that you would always use, but that is something that you would hold in your toolbox, depending on the scenarios that show up. Again,
yes. I didn't use it all the time, but I tried use it one time. I just imagine myself, okay, if I'm displaying that we are so genuine, and see how it goes in the other end. So I just tried one time. Yeah.
They definitely, and that topic actually goes two ways. I like to ask the listing agent, I'm like, what does your sellers want? Tell me what they want. I'll put it on the paper. I'll give it to you. I'm not going to put any conditions. You guys choose the closing date. That same topic goes two different directions. You can play a very, very nice guy, or you can play somewhat of an arrogant individual. I wouldn't say really arrogant, but you can say you being upfront, just telling the listing agent, what does your client want? Your property's been sitting on the market for 11 days. It clearly hasn't sold. I don't know if you got any other offers. What does your client want? Okay, they want this price. Okay, you know what? We're going to offer $10,000 less. Here's a firm deal. Take it or leave it. The attitude differs, based on who you're speaking to, right? And of course, like, none of this is 100% guaranteed. I'm sure Gopa is going to give us a lot more ideas of how to go ahead with that. But again, every situation differs. So you have to be able to speak and act accordingly for any situation that does show up.
Yeah, again, I mean, remember, the client has the right to show emotion, but not you. Like, I mean, these things are all actually, you need to, it's all part of the preparations. Like, when you actually go with all these kind of preparations, you will be able to actually control your emotions, control your ego and all those things, because you have already looking at that. Remember, you are representing. It's not about you. Like, I mean, you're actually representing whether it is a buyer or a seller. So it's not, you don't want to actually bring that ego in between. And then again, the emotions and all that. Don't bring your commission and that in the process, right? So that's the later stage. So definitely many times when we actually really get to actually think that when we bring the commission in between in the negotiations, that's actually a bad way of negotiating when you're actually doing that, and that's where your emotions and all those things will come. Of course, we all actually have to be mindful about what you're going to make it, and commission is an important process, but at the same time, keep in mind it's not about you, it is you're representing for your buyer or something, right? And again, what's the best interest for your client? Like when you're actually really looking at that, as I mentioned, even if it is $100,000 difference, walk them through the cost of borrowing, like help them understand when you actually take this $100,000, what's the difference is going to be, whether they really like the house, everything is actually matching. They are looking for a 4-bedroom, like, I mean, in nice localities, and everything is actually going through them. Help them in making that decision, like, focus on their best of interest, listen their concerns and need and the hot button, like, on the both side, what's important to them. Are they flexible on moving closing date? Are they really stuck with the pricing, or are they flexible about the pricing side or something like that? Or do they need any inspections, any conditions and all that? So those things you need to really understand, what are they really actually stuck on that, right? It's important. That is when it's part of your preparations. You need to actually really ask questions and understand that, right? And you also have to remember, when you're negotiating, it's not about only one person is winning, like you both side of the transactions, you need to understand both side. And that's why the best, one way of negotiating in the best way is, if you give something, make sure you get it back something. So both the parties should win, right? If somebody is actually stuck with the price, ask for something else, whether it's extension of a closing date or extension of something like that, like, or you put on condition. And this market it's completely different, but in general, sometimes in today's market, these kind of techniques are not working for anybody who's it's just that, like, and we all know that, this is not the normal way, but in general, you must actually really try to put some kind of something asking back from them when you give away something, right? Again, it's not about, this is kind of something, you don't want to actually do it back and forth, use the best method, whether it is in today's time anyway, one-on-one will not be, actually it's very rare, so it's over the phone, and like it says, make sure that the email and all that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And remember that, it's not that every transaction you're going to actually win. Sometimes you also have to be prepared that you're not going to actually go through that, because when you did your plus minus implications, you realize that it's not like really a good thing for your customer. So it is, sometimes you will lose those transactions. So it is okay to lose that sometimes, when it is not having that deal go through that, right? So that is why when you're actually going for a negotiation, to have that 3 prices. One is your offer price. The second thing is, like, I mean, what midpoint, what range you're going to actually negotiate. And the third is your walkaway price, walkaway offer, right? I mean, walkaway price or offer, whether it is whatever when you're actually talk to your customers, you understand their hot button. So when based on that, you make your walkaway offer, right? I mean, this is at this point, I'm going to actually come away with that. So that's important thing, to have that 3 numbers in your mind. 3, whether it is price, whether it is closing date, whether it is actually, something else, or some kind of fixtures or chattels or whatever you're actually talking about, that, that the 3 things you should have it, right? I mean, always when as part of your preparation, those 3 things you should have that. And again, there are in the negotiation process, you need to ask questions, and it's the purpose of questions, and 2 main types of questions, and we'll talk about the tips for that. What is the purpose of asking questions? It's
Okay.
not just to have a conversation. You need to ask questions to obtain information from the other side, right? I mean, it is when you're asking them. So that is also when we were actually we touched on the pre-qualifying process. So when you do the pre-qualifying thing, I think somebody's mute. Can
It should be fine now.
all right, thank you. Yeah, so obtain information and confirm existing informations, because when you did the pre-qualifying, you had certain conversations. When you remember that we did the pre-qualifying process, right? When you do the pre-qualifying, you had asked certain things. Okay, so you want to move within 3 months. So, like confirm that existing information. So you said that, Mr. Seller, so you mentioned that you want to move by, 30th of May. So, just confirming those information. So it's all part of preparation with your client and educating your customers. So when you're actually have that thing, this is also an objection handling way, right? I mean, you're eliminating that confusion that you're having with your customer. And it's also when you're asked that question, and that you're checking their motivation level. How are they actually responding to that? You need to really be mindful on that when you're asked that pre-qualifying process, when you ask certain questions when you did the pre-qualifying, and when you're on this negotiation, when you're actually dealing the process is actually going, that it's still you wanted to ask that question to check the motivation levels. Are they still giving you the same answer, right? And that's where you're going to actually increase your reception to your ideas, because then that, okay, fine, and it seems like he keep talking about he needs to move at the same time, or he cannot actually go beyond $1 million. So so that those are the things you're actually wanted to actually, and that's where you're going to actually generate more ideas and all that, right? And that's where you can also actually evaluate when you ask these questions, when you actually understand that you can really look at that, how far apart from the agreement, like are they really stuck with the price point, or are you hearing they are okay to come up with an extra $20,000 or $50,000, whatever that, how far is that in agreement? If somebody's saying that I cannot go beyond that, right, and you keep hearing that, so that will also help you as a sales guy to evaluate that is how far apart from the agreement, right? So you need to really, it's actually negotiation. It's any sales job, not just in real estate. As I said, that this is kind of a more of psychology behind that. So you need to really watchful and takes that time to understand, how the customer is actually, the person whom you're representing or the other side of the sales guy, the way they are representing on that. And that's why we all saying that each situation is different. You cannot really actually do that. It is, you have to really see that how they're like responding to that. There are you may have there are two type of questions, with the close-ended questions and open-ended questions, right? The close-ended question is basically seek your specific information, like, so for example, it will you're just reiterating what you are actually knew about that. So that's the close-ended question. It's kind of an yes or no answer, right? And what is it for the close-ended questions? It's to confirm that. So you agree this is, your for this price, right? Yes or no. You agree we are moving, your closing date can be flexible and end of June, right? So yes or no. So that's what the close-ended questions when you're actually going through the process. The open-ended question is to get more information, like generally start with why, when, and where, right? I mean, basically that's where the open-ended questions comes into the picture. Why do we need to ask the open-ended question? Is gain as much as information as possible. It's like, so why do you want to have this closing date by this time? Why are we not able to go through this, the price, whatever the fixed price there. So, generally it's like the open-ended question is you're trying to get more information from that. So in the negotiation skills, you need, in the negotiation process, you should have this kind of, open-ended questions and the close-ended question. So where you have to ask the close-ended question is basically is you need to have the confirmation. It's just, that's where you're going to close the conflict. The more when you in the process, when you actually finish the less close-ended question and more open-ended question in the beginning of the process. Then as you go along the negotiation, it should be on the other way around. less open-ended question and more close-ended question. The close-ended questions, really, that's an indication you're going to end in the negotiation process, because you almost, all those conflict has been resolved with the close-ended question. Close-ended question is basically you're just reconfirming the information. And so you agree this price is fine with you, yes or no. So you agree the closing date, you're flexible with that. We can move from May to 15th of June, right? So yes or no. So that's why the close-ended. So close-ended questions really show that's an indicator that you're almost end of the negotiation process. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody wants to add anything? Anything on the chat box? Yeah, so I didn't see any questions here. Okay, somebody asked that, how about by communicating the listing agent and get some indications about expectation numbers and come up with the right numbers? Yep. Actually, that's also, I think, Delano had mentioned that, right? I mean, have that listing agent get some indications, basically before when you're actually going with that, pick up that phone and establish that. And before even doing that, somebody even actually mentioned also, Kana was also talking, know that listing agents kind of background, search for them, how experienced they are, how are they actually operating, are they really, they only go with that their own, some of the agents are actually, they have the buyer and the guys in the multiple representation. So, just check those kind of things before you go and have, do the homework and have that, establish that communication, that relationship with that the other agents, knowing that, ask them, give me a feel, like, where is your client is sitting, that is, are they really stuck on that, or is it going to go on a multiple offer? Just kind of some kind of in a sense from that agent. Absolutely, you communicating with the listing agents is definitely an important process in this. So, okay, I didn't see any other question. So now, once you ask the question, it is also important to your listening skill, right? I mean, it's it's not about in when you're asked questions, you should also show that the listening. So there are two types of listening skill, attentive skills and the interactive listening skill. The attentive is let the other side tell its story first, right? We always remember, bite your tongue. Like when you're actually asked question, you don't want to actually interrupt them. You wanted to make sure that is you're giving an opportunities for them to tell the story, right? That's where you actually have your listening skills. We're going to show that. The interactive listening skill is basically when you have the conversations, like when you, once you finish their story, probe them, confirm and acknowledge them. Like, I mean, it's actually, it shows that you are engaged in the conversation, you're actually serious about this, and then you're actually having, whether it is, talking with the other agents, or you went from, you're representing sort of buyer and seller, is also your interactive listening skill. That's where you probing, or you're confirming your informations and acknowledging what you had actually heard that from. And as I said, that this is, again, what there is a lot of psychology behind in the negotiations, right? I mean, there a body language, your questioning skill, your listening skill, and your the body language. If you're, whether it is over the phone also, like the tone will actually, you can actually make sure come up, you can really get to know that person's, when you talk to somebody on the phone. It doesn't mean on the face to face, even when you talk to somebody over the phone also, you can actually make that their body language, right? So the study says that the 90% of what we communicate is not transmitted. It's actually transmitted non-verbally. Like when you're actually over the phone or on a face-to-face, when whatever you're saying, that on a face-to-face, the body language shows that how much they are engaged in that conversations. Are they really motivated? Are they really willing to work? That's whatever they may, somebody may be saying, so nice, nice words, but at the same time, your body language, the tone and the face expression plays a major role in any communications, any conversations, right? So you can say that in the less than 10% is what generally it's actually passed through the words, and tone and the voice accounts for nearly around 40%, and body language is around 50%. So this is actually the psychologies when you're actually having the negotiation, and you need to be really watching these things. And as an experienced sales guys, when you do that, you can come you will start noticing that's when you're having the conversations, their tone of the language, their their body language and the eye contact and all. Basically, when you do the body language, what is it saying? Your eyes, your face expressions, your touch and gesture, posture, even the smells, like like sometimes when you're actually going there, how much they're prepared and all that, the personal space and the emotions. So the body language is a definitely important thing. And when you're actually asking question and the listening skills, like when you're listening skill, as I said, that let the other person tell the story, and then you ask questions and probing them. There are and again, the time, information and power, right? The time is how much time you have it, how quickly you have to go back and forth and all that, how quickly, whether it is because if there is an offer presentation or something and you got only by 11:59 p.m. today, so you have to do that. So the more time you have it, that you will have actually better time to actually spend some time and really do your homework and all that. So the time is an important thing in that. And information, the more homework you do it, more informations you have about that product, it's actually you will have a better chance in winning that negotiation. And the power, of course, like in the sales, who's actually with you, like how powerful you are, because power comes not just that you are a successful real estate agent. That's not the power we are actually talking about. You are actually, you have a better power, because whether it is a house or like there is going to be a multiple offer and all that coming there, or where if you're representing on the seller side or on the buyer side, that like this person is actually really having a hard time to sell that, then you have that power of negotiation. So that the tip, like the time, informations and power is actually as an important thing in the negotiation process. So basically, again, negotiation is an important step in the sales job. We all do that on a daily basis. When you really look at that, we negotiate with our spouse, we negotiate with our kids, we negotiate on a day-to-day basis in a many occasions, right? Those things you're not even actually realizing that those are negotiations. That's because it's part of your process. But when it comes to these kind of things in a sales and the real estate business and all that, you're finding it difficult. The reason is there is no preparation, right? So how much homework you're doing and how much you're educating your customer is actually the most important thing. And how do we do that? Those ones, an effective listening skill. When you're asking, when you're pre-qualifying, when you're actually having the conversations with your person whom you're representing, and even from the other side, the agents, the listening skill, like it's very, you watch for those things. What is their want? What are they actually trying to tell you? Are they telling you about the price is important, the closing date? Are they flexible, or they don't want any inspections? Like you really look at those ones and what is coming from them, and work for a common goal, right? It's not that only one person should win. So that is not a good negotiation. In the negotiations, you also have to see that both the parties are actually going to win there. So work for a common goal and understand your customer. Of course, that is in the process. You should be knowing that are they flexible. What are they flexible for? What are they actually really wanted? Did they like the house, or are they just actually still looking around? So you need to actually really know your customer there. Enough options, like plus minus implications. So that will really help you to come up with those options. What is the plus sides, what's the minus sides, and what's the implications. PMI process, like in the chart sheet, you can actually create that. So that will help you to come up with those options and all that, and do your homework. So again, that's we cannot stress that the importance about doing the homework. before you not doing any kind of homeworks and not doing that, there's no point in going for a negotiations. You will short sure you're not going to win that. Some of the homework is actually really knowing about the person you're talking with, about the market conditions, of course, and educating your customer about the cost of borrowing, whether it is $100,000 difference, walk them through that, the cost of borrowing process, right? And it's the difference between, taking additional 100,000, it's only going to cost you this much, right? And ask those questions. You're really helping them in making that decision. So that's what the homework and all. So, again, it's actually, it's very, you really think that, it doesn't happen in every conversation. It's not true. Like, there is a lot of psychology behind this negotiation, and it's you really paying attention to those things, whether it is your listening skill, your asking style, the question, get that, and what are you doing with that information, right? How are you actually utilizing that and understanding their body language, and what are they actually coming up with that? So that then it's important thing in that. So we have, that's the last slide, and I'm going to actually send you some of those, the notes and all that. And I saw some note, somebody, and okay, one second.
Yeah,
Do we have any questions? When it comes to what are we clients' expectations, what are your buyers agents looking to receive an agent? Sorry, what was the question? So when it comes to what are your clients' expectations, what are your buyers agents looking to receive as an answer? Is it that the agent these days are not doing their homework for their clients and want
Ruth,
the direct,
if you're on the
easy?
line, you can ask your question as well. So I believe what she's basically trying to ask here is, when people ask, when listing agents ask, or if you ask your clients, what is your client's expectations, right? So let's, Ruth, I'm not too sure if I'm asking your question correctly here, but so correct me if I'm wrong. But in this case, I'm assuming that if a listing agent is asking you and you're the buying agent, what are your client's expectations, or vice versa? What is the right way to go along with that? What are some of the reassuring words or a way to answer that question to overall get a positive result? So what are your client's expectations?
Yeah, so client's expectation, it's again, you have to see that there's no one capsule for that. Like, you need to really ask that question to them, what do they actually really trying to do, and look for their response. Like, what are they actually trying to say? Are they really stuck with their pricing, or are they really, or are they really still flexible in the moving date, or you have to see what exactly the response coming from them, and utilize that to negotiate and help them in make that decision process. I don't know whether I actually answered that correctly, but
yeah, I believe you did. Yeah, buyer's agent asking the listing agent that, so that makes sense.
Yeah, buyer agent asking the listing agent. Okay.
And yes, Gopa did send me some material to circulate to everyone. I'm just going to be putting them on a Home Life header, and some of the material from today's conversation, it'll be all circulated this weekend, so everyone will get it. Thank you, Sue, for your wonderful message there. Sue said, honestly, as a new agent, your webinar sessions is really helpful. So thank you very much for expressing that. Other than that, if anyone has any other questions, definitely the time is no concern. So if you have any questions.
So how can we access this information? You said somewhere you are going to post it, right?
Yeah, so the office will send everyone an email to all of our agents. Usually what happens during Zoom calls is that we only send out the material to those that have attended the sessions. But in this case, we'll be sending it to all 600 plus of our agents. So everyone's aware. But GOPA's been sending us material. We're going to put that in one of our header boards, and we're going to send that out to everyone. And also along with today's, definitely.
Yeah, and then I will also going to send you for the listing, just list it, and then this one is also actually sent you some notes about the negotiation tips. So that is actually negotiation. This is generally when when they do that negotiation and all that, it's a full 1-day workshop, because there is a whole lot of information there. We had actually summarized everything in 45 minutes. So definitely you will find it. It's actually it's too much. But again, the bottom line is preparation. What is your walkaway point? Always make sure that. So that's the most important thing. When you're actually going for that, you educate your customer, your offer point. And sometimes it's not just the price point, right? I mean, there are many things that actually in the negotiations actually involved in that. The flexibility on the closing, or moving date, or something like that. What are the other things you can actually come up with the option? So your offer, your mid-range, where you need to actually going to have the negotiation, and your walkaway of offer, right? I mean, at this point, I'm not going to be flexible with that. So it is very important to know those 3 things before you go on a negotiation. The other thing is educate your customer, and also you do your homework. What kind of conversations you're actually going to have it. What are the things you're going to actually come up with this option. So there is many things, as I mentioned. The psychology behind that is asking right question. Come up with that, and and your listening capability. And when you're asking that, what are the body language say? So those are the things which is behind that. And preparation. Before you go for that, prepare yourself very well, and that will. And again, not that all deal is going to go through, right? Sometimes you're going to actually not going to win, but it is okay. Learn the best practices and move on to the next one. Okay. So I will send this across, and then I'll also actually send you the previous notes and all that. I think, I mean, Kanna, you must have received some of them, right? I mean, I know last week I didn't send anything, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, the previous reports, especially when it comes to door knocking scripts and everything, we received that.
Okay.
But I believe from the last class and along with this week's, we would need. But
Okay.
Once we get it, everyone will get a copy of it. That's definitely right. So we'll send that out. So there's no issues. It's perfectly fine if you write your email in the chat box. That's perfectly fine. But if you're receiving any emails from the office, then definitely you're already in our. If you're an agent with us, you're already in our emailing category. So there's no issues there. But all of that will be circulated out, definitely.
Okay. All right. So I will send that, and then I'll connect with Kanna for the next week's topic. And anybody have any question before we wrap up this? Any comments? Okay.
Perfect. I just want to add, we'll be having another discussion regarding the recent mortgage changes very soon. Moon and myself will, from Scotiabank and the broker side, Moon and I will get involved, and we'll have another session to get everyone revamped of what's happening in the mortgage industry, especially with the changes that's about to occur on June 1st. Just giving everyone a hindsight of what to expect in the future, and other interest rate implications from all the banks. We'll give you some insights. I'm not too sure when that session will take place, but everyone will be notified of that. It'll be fairly soon, though. Along with that, if anyone has anything else to share, especially regarding negotiation techniques, also understand there's multiple ways you can negotiate, especially when you're dealing with a buyer or seller. If you just look at the purchase and sale agreement, many ways you can negotiate other than the price. We have the closing date, we have the deposit that you're placing, we have obviously the price, all of that stuff. So yes, price is one major point, but at the same time, you got to look at the conditions as well. Are you going with firm conditions? Are you going with condition of finance, condition of home inspection? How many days? Is it 5 days? Are you asking 10 days? Are you asking 1 day? all of those are ways to negotiate that deal. Especially when you're putting out an offer. There's a lot of experienced agents on the call. So if you do want to unmute yourself, please share some things that you guys find that's useful for yourself. I always, depending on the scenario, if I know that the listing agent has already received over 5, 6, 10 offers, then I tell my client, I'm like, if you're going to put an offer right now, it's got to be firm. If you're not going to put a firm offer, don't even think about, putting an offer through. At the same time, if there's not much offers on the table from what the sellers have received already, then I would probably go with at least one condition. On the finance side, I always tell my clients, waive the finance condition. Why? Because I'm doing the mortgage for them. Definitely it's going to get done in a way. But at the same time, that's not what I'm going to recommend for everyone. Finance condition is very, very important. Make sure that it's there. However, I try to go with at least one condition, especially status certificate. Many people think that status certificate, you actually need 5-10 days condition on that. No, you don't. Once you know that it's a condo, or if there's any maintenance fees involved and there's a condo corporation involved, when you're talking with the listing agent, you should know right away. Call the listing agent, ask them, hey, how's it going? How many offers do you have on the table? Oh yeah, do you have the status certificate? If you have it already and you ordered it, send it over to me. Let me push it out to my lawyer, so I don't need to put a status certificate condition. The deal that I closed last week, I called the agent and I told him, like, it's a condo corp, it's a townhouse with the condo corp, and I told them, like, give me the status certificate right now, and I'm going to send it to my lawyer once I get the go ahead. When I give you an offer, it's not going to include the status certificate condition. That's what differentiates my offer from the other people that are putting an offer, because I doubt that they did that. They're probably going to put 5 days status certificate conditions on their offer. In my case, I put it there and I waived it out, and my client signed it saying that it's waived, along with a few other conditions. So there's many ways that you can negotiate a deal. Again, it comes with a lot of experience. Everyone has the same license in their pocket. Going back to what Salvana always says, we all carry the exact same license. It's how you use it is what's going to differentiate you from others. It's how you use it is how much money you're going to make from closing all your sales, right? So yes, it comes with experience, but at the same time, it comes with knowledge as well. We got to keep on educating ourselves, finding out what's happening in the market, finding out ways around, and of course, we have so many experienced agents here. If you have any issues, if you have any doubts, give a call to anyone. Give a call to anyone at any time, actually. We're a fairly big family here, so everyone's going to be giving you a lending hand, right? But thank you again, Gopal. Great discussion on negotiations. Again, if anyone has any questions, even after the session, feel free to email us.
Yes.
And we'll go from there.
Thank you all. Have a great day and good luck.
All right. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.